He goes, for listeners of a certain vintage, hearts will be a flutter for this guest. To be a talented, blonde-haired all-rounder in Australia in the mid to late 90s.
What I wouldn't give.
Playing 50-odd ODIs for your country, scoring 5,000 first-class runs, 150 wickets for the Alpha State, New South Wales. Watching your younger brother frighten your peers, then touring alongside him in a rock and roll band with Brad McNamara, Gav Robertson and Richard Cheekwee, where God only knows what occurred after those shows. Shane Lee, welcome to The Grade Cricketer.
Jeez, it's hard to be humble after that introduction, boys.
Don't be humble. Very well. Don't be humble. That's how this works.
It's good to be here, guys. Look, the smell of spring is in the air, which always excited me this time of year. It means pre-season's almost over and cricket season's about to start, so looking forward to it.
That's interesting. That sounds like you like cricket. Let's start with grade cricket, Shane. You played most of your grade cricket on what's actually officially now known as the best era, the 90s. You debuted for New South Wales at age 20, so you were basically the quintessential New South Wales state player during this time. Can you paint a picture of grade cricket for us during this time, where men were really men? What was your relationship to it?
Well, I think I've said before, it's the great cricket you played on a parched outfield with a parched throat and every second bloke called you a prick. So that was pretty much grade cricket. It was it was tough. It was always competitive. A lot of all the New South Wales players used to play when they're available for your own grade club, and some Australian players as well. These days, I don't think anyone who gets paid a cent goes near grade cricket, unfortunately.
Shane, you played in an amazingly strong team in Mossman in the Sydney Test competition, and some of the names in that team in that time, maybe not in the same fixture, were like obviously yourself, Brett. And then Shoaib Akhtar, Niall O'Brien, Waqar Younis. I mean, did you guys ever play in the same team? And then who else is even getting a game in that team? Is it just like some nervous 24-year-old bloke who's just trying to keep his spot maybe in the first and second grade squad who's just getting his bat signed?
Yeah, there was a bloke called Matt Bradshaw who he's still dying on the fact that we still hold the Mossman. I think it's the fifth wicket partnership, something 200 and something, and he got 12 of them.
MB,
I had my best day out playing against Gordon. I got 210 not out, but as he said, he's still in the book with me. No, it was a bloody good team. I remember when Shoaib Akhtar first came to the club, and I went up to Alan Border Oval to meet him for the first time. I welcomed him to the club, and I said, mate, can I buy you a beer? He said, no, it's on me. I said, no, let me get you a beer. I said, no, it's on me, mate. You've come to our club, I'll get you a beer. He said, no, it's on me. I said, fair enough. And he had some little Pakistani mate says, go get Shane a beer. So,
what a guy.
That's how we rolled, yeah.
In the, God, there were so many characters who played in that era, Shane. Like, where does Shoaib rank in terms of the alpha life? When he turned up, was there more gawking over him than anyone else? I mean, who were the biggest characters on that scene?
He was definitely a character. Steve Waugh used to always say whenever we played Pakistan, they were sort of 5 minutes away from a coup. Within about 3 or 4 overs, they could either take 5 quick wickets or there could be a new captain. So you had to be really consistent and tough with him. But he was called the Royal Pindi Express, and he would fly in and our wicketkeeper at the time was a guy called Cameron Guthrie, who I think has kept to the 2 fastest bowlers ever in the one game. He kept to both Brett and Shoaib, and Shoaib steamed in against St George one day, and he took about 5 wickets, and they were shitting themselves, to be honest, and so were most of us in the slips.
Yeah, I bet. So Shoaib Akhtar is just pushing off from the sight screen in a grade game. You got Brett Lee at the other end. Waqar Younis probably bowling first change, just trying to scratch the ball up for a bit of reverse swing, allegedly. How quick is Shoaib? Is he going full tilt in a grade game?
Yeah, he was going full tilt, but only for about 4 overs.
Sure, yeah.
Where Brad bowler quicker. Actually, the third bowler in that game was a guy called Phil Alley.
Yeah.
You remember? We used to call Phil the crayfish because he was 6'10". He was all body and a head full of shit.
There it is. There's the 90s.
Hopped in a time machine there, Pez.
I can feel the grin coming over your face as you said head full of shit.
But he was an exceptional bowler as well. He was up the field. So, not the sharpest field in the shed, that's for sure.
So There's going to be a little punch at the end.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is a really pedestrian question, Shane, but even in that, was it one game that Brett and Shalwell played together, or maybe a couple? I mean, can you do a pace comparison there? It is your younger brother, so you've probably got the best position from which to either like destroy him or back him here. But Shalwell v Brett in the same game, who's scaring the batsman more?
Oh, Brett was slightly quicker, and I was the captain, so I gave Brett downwind.
Show him up the slope. Put a shift in.
Well, he only bought me one beer, so he was But no, Brett was definitely quicker. But Shalwell would often like through the air, like the Yorker, it felt quicker, but Brett would hit the bat a lot harder. And Brett bowled 150 kilometres for nearly 20 years. And Shalwell probably did it off and on for 15 minutes or something. But he was a great bowler as well. And but he's a really, really good club man. He enjoyed the circuit going out afterwards, and he liked the ladies as well.
I bet he did. I mean, to hit the I mean, don't hit the old cliches here, like a couple of the Lee brothers in the backyard, getting down there, having a hit and having a bowl. But you must have been like, when Brett was coming through, you must have been like, fuck that, I'm going to bowl today. I'm definitely bowling today in the backyard. Like, I mean, you had a career of just facing Brett Lee in the backyard. That must have been a whole career of no thank you.
Well, it wasn't too bad. I think I got a 400 one day, and I got him out second ball, and I went inside for a drink, and Brett was crying. Mum made me go out and bowl him again. I knocked him out for 12 in the second dig.
Shane could play too.
Yeah. Shane was a pretty good player. Yeah.
And our poor younger brother Grant, he was the youngest, so he was fielding the whole time. So that's why he retired at 18. He had a gutful.
Saw that on Wiki. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Grant retired at 18. That makes complete sense. You debuted for New South Wales at age 20, Shane. Back then, it felt like every single New South Welshman either played for Australia or would go on to play for Australia.
And rightfully so.
And rightfully so. Just how superior did you feel as a blue bagger at the time?
Yeah, it was funny. There was a real culture when we came in where there was instant belief. There's something like you put the blue cap on, you had these magical powers. And for the first few seasons I played, I won the double twice in a row. So, the Sheffield Shield and the Mercantile Mitchell Cup. So that was amazing times. You then work out that, unfortunately, we had so many players playing in the Australian team that when they all exited, we were left with some really, some pretty ordinary cricketers, to be honest.
Name them.
Phil Alley.
Phil Alley wasn't too bad. I just said he wanted to field. But, we had some guys that would have played over those periods. And it was quite funny. During that period, we had a selector, John Benno, which was Richie Benno's younger brother, who also played for Australia. And I remember we went to Perth where we used to get completely smashed over there. And at the time, we had some very interesting selections. And there was a lot of mumblings going on within the team. And so he pulled us aside and he said, guys, okay, everyone write down your best 12 for New South Wales without the Australian players, and we'll discuss them. And everyone wrote them down. He sort of read them out, and everyone started, you've got to be kidding, mate. You wouldn't pick him, you've got to be joking. And he goes, it's not so fucking easy, is it, boy?
Just a hint of Richie in that accent as well. I like that.
That's right. Yeah. And that game, Corey Richards, I think we got beaten in about 3 days over there, so we had a massive night out. And so Corey Richards was struggling the next morning, and I was rooming with him, so I made sure I did the right thing, got him to the bus on time. But as he was getting on the bus, John Benno was waiting there with the clipboards, ticking all our names off, and Corey vomited on John Benno's shoes, the selector's shoes. And he told me to get the fuck off the bus, mate. You go to the airport. The next game's in Melbourne. If you don't get 100, you'll never play for New South Wales again.
Oh my God!
And the record shows Corey scored 6 first class hundreds in a row after that. But he should have been vomiting on the selector's boots for many years before.
Yeah, should have.
So he got sick. Yeah,
that era, Shane, is like it is an amazing era that you were right in the midst of as well. Because you had couple of World Cup runs in '96 and '99. I was just going through one of my regular things is to YouTube Shane Lee highlights. Of course. And one of the great things is, as I'm sure you're doing as well, Shane. And one of the things on there is that the Australian team are playing against the Cricket Academy in 1997, and that the Cricket Academy side has obviously Brett Lee's playing in it, Gilchrist. Andrew Simons, Ricky Ponting, I think Stuart Law's playing in it. Who has a cricket academy, and they're like, well, we're going to put them against the current Australian side. And I think, was that game a tie? Is that right?
I can't remember. All I know is Brett got me out. That was a nightmare. It was bloody. That was actually a horrible experience because Brett was so excited to be playing at that level, but I'm the incumbent. I'm in the Australian team, and of course straight away as soon as I came to bat, they brought Brett on, and going through your mind is, what do I do to my younger brother here? Do I try and smash him, but he might get me out? No, I'll just try and knock him around. Tailed in two minds and got out. It was a disaster. But as I chipped one, I think to cover, I just hear everyone laughing. This is embarrassing.
The laughing's the worst part.
Is that playing that era, just to harp on that point of like how good a cricket academy side is that they put them against the Australian team? Was it just really well known that like they've just got this crop of this generational talent, best ever team possibly coming through? Was that known at the time?
I don't know. Being in part of it, there were some really serious players. The one guy from pretty much New South Wales under 17s right through that I knew was going to be a superstar was Adam Gilchrist. Everything, and it was just from a timing perspective when Healy was going to be sort of retiring potentially. He played for that long. Gilly would be the right age to take over, and he did. But he was a superstar batsman. But he had guys like Andrew Simons, as you said, was just a great cricketer. Guys in that area too, like guys that don't get a lot of mentions, like guys like Mark Love, who was just the hardest guy to bowl to in the world. Jimmy Marr, Queensland, and some really, really good. Down the cricket academy, we had Brian Campbell. Some really, really good cricketers. That was tough as well.
Can we talk a little bit about that New South Wales versus Australia player dynamic? Like, when the Test players came back into the side, what was that dynamic? I mean, we saw the other day with the Blues winning the Shield, the Test players were on the top deck of the ladies' stand, and the non-Test players at the bottom deck for that photo shoot. Was it like that as well?
No, it wasn't at all. No, but the Tubby was and the Wars are all really inclusive, and they wanted to win. Whenever they played New South Wales, they wanted to win, so that was infectious. And they had a real attitude. I remember Steve Waugh sort of saying one game in, I think it was in Adelaide, where he declared, and basically we had to bowl South Australia out in Adelaide Oval for 120 or less, and he said, if none of you guys don't fucking believe we can win, don't bother following me out here. So it was that sort of attitude, and Jesus Christ, and we won that game. Gavin Robertson bowled them out. So it was really, really infectious. It was always good fun to hang around too, and that was a sort of era where cricketers sort of became, really well known. They were high profile. Slats was, on TV. You had Warney and these sort of guys. So it was, there was a bit of a rock star sort of attitude, which was good.
In that era as well, there was obviously like back in the day when they used to put the state games, the Mercantile Mutual Cup, as it were, on Channel 9 at the time. And of course, the big thing that every player wanted to do, all the fans wanted to see, was hit the Mercantile Mutual Cup sign, the pinnacle of any state or international cricketer at the time. Shane Lee did that down the ground against the ACT, hit the sign, $90,000 won. First of all, I mean, how fucking big is that circuit as soon as that hits? And then apparently at the time as well, that Mercantile Mutual wanted to have a hole in the sign, and if a player hit through that, they were going to get $1 million, but then the cricket ACB said, "Nah, don't do that." So anyway, that's just an aside. I mean, just how fucking big was that circuit, Shane, in the ACT that night?
Well, it was quite big, but so Steve Waugh was the first one to hit it. He was $140,000, which I actually played in that game as well. That was in Perth.
Yeah.
And so Steve was the first one to hit. So his formula to divide the money up was, I think each player that played in that match, so 90% was split 12 ways. And then 10% was given like pro rata to the guys that played games throughout the year. So, I probably made maybe 10 grand or something out of that nice little game over in Perth. But I couldn't remember what I actually spent my money on a couple of years down the track. So when I hit it, I came off and went, you know what? I'm going to take the whole squad, including the masseuse, which is Merv Ceres. I'm going to take the coaches and the whole 25 guys in the New South Wales squad. We're all going to Hawaii for one of the biggest spenders of all time.
Oh, my God.
And Michael Bevan actually complained to Cricket New South Wales because under Steve Waugh's formula, he would have missed out on about $700.
We need Bevan on this show.
A lot of money back then.
I was asked to go into New South Wales cricket, and they sort of said, Shane, we can't tell you what to do with the money, but we strongly suggest you don't do that. You use Steve Waugh's formula. And I was sort of pressured into doing it. And unfortunately, I I gave in and did that. But I regret that now. I should have went to Hawaii.
Oh, fuck
I should have said I'll keep the bloody lot, But anyway, thanks for that.
Just pocket the 90 grand. That would have been good.
Yeah,
Just feel the regret through that laugh as well. There's a single tear running down his cheek. Just in terms of test selection, Shane, like you went very close a couple of times. Noting you're on the 97 Ashes tour, like it must have been tough to miss out on playing a test. But what was it like touring with Warnie?
It was magnificent. That was great fun. No, it was got down to the last county game. Mark Taylor, basically, I got called up from just league cricket, and there was a guy called Sean Young from Tasmania. He was playing for Gloucestershire. And Mark Taylor said, listen, I know you both can bat, and basically whoever takes the most wickets in this last county game will play the fifth test. And, I thought, come at the hour, come at the man. Yeah. And so I didn't go with Warnie that night, and I got an early one. And I took 8 wickets for the match, and Sean Young got none, and Tubby picked Sean Young. So, bloody hell. I should have went with Warnie.
Damn it. Fuck. It's outrageous.
Did he give you any explanation for that?
I just thought that he thought I was a bit young and he didn't want me to earn the baggy green that easy, and he thought I'd get another chance down the track, which I never did. So, yeah, that was unfortunate. But the good thing is I knew that when I was asked and told to perform, to get that chance, at least I know that I did it. So, wasn't to be. It is what it is, boys.
I just feel like in that era, like, Shane, that sort of everyone hung out a bit more, I feel like there was more sort of bonding between the teams. I guess you were playing maybe a little bit less because they're just playing endlessly all the time now, But I want to know, like after the games, like were people coming into the dressing room sharing a beer, like were the umpires involved? What I'm asking is what's Daryl Hare like as a bloke?
Well, Big D, he can't call no balls, can he?
Big
D. Big D.
I was called Big D.
Yeah.
Big D, Big D. Or Big Double D. I remember we had another guy called, can't remember his name, we called him Merlin the physician. He was an umpire for New South Wales, had the big silver beard, and we were playing against South Australia one day at the SCG, and he was the New South Wales umpire. And I remember I bowled a perfect, the ball was reverse swing, I bowled a perfect ball to Jamie Siddons. It was absolutely plumb. And bloody Merlin, our umpire, said not out. So Emmy said, you've got to be joking, Merlin. Why was that could not be missing? And he goes, Phil, I thought it was just missing leg, but don't worry, we are going all right. We are going to win.
Keep working hard here, boys. We're going to get through this. One brings two.
And I just grabbed the cap and walked back to the top of the mark and said that no problem at all, and we won the game.
I bet you did.
Ian Jackson was his name, actually. Ian Jackson. Yeah.
Oh, name him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still umpiring.
Shane, we have to ask about 6 and out, obviously. Sort of done a little bit of digging with this. I mean, I guess I just want to know, obviously the band is great. Gavin Robertson's a fantastic drummer. I've heard that before. I do want to know about what happens after those shows because you guys are still playing, still well known as you're going out and playing those shows. Richard Cheekwee asked us to inquire about what happened in Cairns, especially where things happen in threes.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. So, we had like a residency it's called Jono's Blues Bar in Cairns, which means we were playing for about 5 nights in a row. And so the John's Blues Bar was on the corner. Across the road was our hotel. And on the other corner was this fantastic Italian restaurant. And I used to call it the Beer Muter Triangle because we'd have beers at the gig. We'd go back to the hotel, sleep, wake up, go for lunch, and go straight to the gig. So the Beer Muter Triangle was every day. Perfect. So things I thought happened in three. So Brett said after the first hangover, he said, come on, guys, let's have a run around and play a bit of touch footy. And we had a supporting band with us who were actually better than us, which was embarrassing. But they had a big lead singer, his name was Shane as well, this big muscly guy. And so we're playing touch football, and this big clumsy lead singer called Shane from our support band trips over and fucking dead legs me and like corks my legs. And I said, guys, I'm not doing this anymore. Well, this is rock and roll. We don't do cricket and bloody football up here. Anyway, so as we were walking back, and I was limping. There were these kids playing cricket in the park, and they noticed Brett and I, and they said, "Oh, boys, can you come and?" So I said, "I'll bat." So Brett's bowling with a tennis ball, and I hooked Brett into the sort of muddy water there in Cairns, we didn't see Brett pick the ball up. It was covered in mud. And the next ball he bowled, and I just had a pair of shorts with no undies on. So I've got a cork leg, and he bowls this ball, and it fucking skids and hits me right in the nuts, right? And just drops it. So I've got a big muddy patch on my ball and a cork leg. And I said, that's it, boys. We're going to lunch. We've got a gig tonight. So I hobbled over to lunch. And as I ordered a prawn dish, I squeezed the prawn tail and it fucking shot out as well and cut my whole nose. So now I've got a bleeding nose, I've got a sore leg, and I've got sore balls. Anyway, so I thought things happened in threes. And we played the gig that night and finished the gig and went to another pub. And this band asked us to go up and play one song. And the one song I can always play when I'm totally hammered is Blister in the Sun. So I get up on stage and the guy says to me, oh, you can use my guitar, but you're not too drunk, are you, Shane? I said, no, I'll be fine, mate. And it was this sort of like, I don't know, pipes that went across the roof and down the stage. And I thought it was a pole, but it was actually just a pretty hollow bit of material. And I tried to lean back onto this, inverted commas pole, and I fell straight through the drum kits. It's like, took out Gavin Robertson, stabbed myself on the hi-hat and just ended up on the ground. Totally, so things happen in fours. Yeah, it was a nightmare of doing that.
Still playing.
Yeah.
It's rock and roll.
And Shane, also, just before we wrap up, you've started your own podcast as well, Lunch with Lee. You've had plenty of fantastic guests on as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, the thrust of it? Is it lunchtime stories like if you were going to Lee's Fortuna Court in Crow's Nest over a few beers and anything else that Stanley offers? Or is it a little bit more serious than that?
No, it's well, I thought, how do I get paid to go to lunch? So I think I've cracked it, boy. So, yeah, it's called Lunch with Lee. And the three things that I've had in my life, I've experienced have been sport, music, and business. So I try and have on every show either a sportsman and a business person or a sportsman and a musician. So the one that comes out today is with Guy Sebastian and Ed Cowan, the Test cricketer. And the idea is we just talk. It's short stories and over a long lunch. With a few good yarns. But the underlying thing that I try and encompass is a bit about mental health. I think as blokes, we pretty much always self-diagnose and we think we're invincible, which we probably are, but not always. And it's generally having a good laugh over and breaking some bread and having a nice meal and telling a few good stories. That's good fun.
Oh, so that's awesome. Lunch with Lee. So, well, Shane, thanks so much. You've brought a tremendous number of stories as we asked. So we're really, really grateful for that. Thanks for your time and all the best with Lunch with Lee and everything else beyond.
Yeah. Hey, can you ask Bevo for my $700 back as well, please?
Well, we've only DM'd him 3 times to come on the show for no reply. Yeah. So,
See you later, mate.
See you later, mate.
See you, mate.